and thanks for joining us on this week's edition of Tech Total Access. I'm your host, Courtney Snookus. Here with me to recap the latest in Hokie sports are our analysts Ian Andrews and Ryan Dye. The men's soccer team took on Wright State. Reporter Kristen Hornbaker has more.
I'm here at Thompson Field, where Virginia Tech just had a draw against Wright State. Traveling to Blacksburg for only the second time in program history, Wright State arrived on Thompson Field Tuesday evening with hopes of ending the Hokies' three-game homestead. The Hokies dominated offensively with 17 shots on goal and controlled the possession during the beginning of the first half. Star forward Marcelo Acuna played an aggressive game, but just couldn't get through the Raiders' strong defense. A goal was finally made by Wright State's Kaeg Fernandez in the 64th minute, but hope was given back to the Hokies as Brendan Moyers quickly responded in the 68th minute to tie the game 1-1. After two 10-minute overtime periods, the game finally ended as a draw. Reporting for VTTV, I'm Kristen Hornbaker.
The men also traveled to number 10 Syracuse, but fell short 1-0 the first half of the game. It was a tough defensive battle, leaving both teams scoreless. In the second half, the Oranges' offense clicked and the Hokies were unable to defend the only goal scored. Ben Lundgaard and Marcelo Acuna had huge games, taking numerous shots at goal for the Hokies, but were unable to connect with the net. So, what did you guys think of the men's performance?
Well, I thought when you draw 1-1 with a team like Wright State, who's not a name brand national power, it's a little bit concerning, especially that the Hokies were ranked 15th in this game. I'll be interested to see if it drags them down the polls a little bit.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those grindy games, 1-1. The shots are about equal. We outshot them 17-14, but when you're playing against a lower tier team, you expect to outshoot them a little bit more. And also, this was the first game at home all season we didn't win. So the way we've been playing, you think a home game that we're gonna bring home the W.
The men will take on Charlotte in their last non-conference game of the season, but we will have more on that next week. Coming up after the break, we will talk about women's soccer and the volleyball team. Stay tuned.
The earthquakes you see in movies are one thing, but real life is a completely different animal. Just because you can't predict an earthquake doesn't mean that you can't prepare for one. In the event of a real earthquake, you should drop, cover, and hold on. Visit ready.gov/earthquake and practice what to do to keep you and your family safe in the event of a real earthquake. And you'll be seen as a hero by your family and your loved ones.
Visit ready.gov/earthquake today.
Welcome back to Tech Total Access. The number 20 women's soccer team took on Louisville at home for Senior Day. For the Hokies, a late goal in the second gave the team a double overtime draw. Senior Muriel Tiernan scored the only point for the Hokies in the 81st minute, sending the game into overtime. In the extra time, the Hokies had a strong defensive performance, especially from Blaine Fink, who made her first career start. What did you guys think of this performance?
I thought the first thing is a hats off to Fink, who made her first career start. After the goal in the 81st minute, she came back in the 87th minute with a fingertip save to put this game into overtime. Otherwise, it would have ended right there. So, I mean, my hat's off to her first and foremost.
Yeah, they closed the game fairly well. They kept Louisville from actually taking the lead. But another game that went into overtime, another game that they couldn't win. You know, they've had like 3 or 4 games go into overtime this season, and they haven't been able to get a goal. Eventually, like, if you want to be successful, you'd like to see them be able to get a goal and get the win.
Right.
Women's soccer senior and starting goalkeeper Mandy McGillen will be taking a leave of absence from the team, missing the next 3 games as she competes with the women's national U18 team in Northern Ireland. We wish her the best of luck. The volleyball team traveled to Florida State but lost 3-2. The team came from 2 sets to force a 5th, but double-digit kills from both Amanda McKenzie and Lindsey Owens wasn't enough to launch the Hokies past the Noles. The Hokies then traveled to Miami, but were shut out by the Hurricanes 3-0. Junior Kara Cunningham had a team-high .455 with 3 digs, 2 blocks, and an ace. That, along with a solid performance by Lindsey Owens, wasn't enough to give the Hokies a win. What did you guys think about these performances on the road?
Well, I think when they played Florida State's the number 15 team in the country. So obviously that's going to be a tough matchup. But we were able to take them to a 5th set, which means, this team shows signs that they're not going to give up. And I think down the road that's eventually going to help them because they're a young team right now. Maybe in like a couple years we might have a serious contender.
Right, and in 15 tries, they've never beat Florida State at Florida State, which is a little bit of a depressing stat. But the fact that, like you said, with Florida State being ranked and them being so close, it definitely looks good. As they, as we start going forward, this team wants to get better as they get older.
The swimming and diving team hosted Penn State. Reporters Nick DeSimone and Mel Christ were there.
The Virginia Tech swimming and diving teams defeated Penn State on Saturday at the Christiansburg Aquatic Center in their first home meet of the season. Both the men and the women dominated their competition, as it was a great showing for the seniors Saturday morning. Head coach Ned Skinner was very impressed with his team's energy and performance, especially the H2 Hokies. Virginia Tech started off the meet with consecutive victories in both the men and women's 200 medley relays. Senior Jess Hespeler specifically stood out for the Hokies, as she took first place in the 200, 500, and 1000 freestyle. Fellow senior Fiona Donnelly and junior Claudia Nazieblo also put together impressive performances, as they took first and second in the women's 100 backstroke. Tech also claimed the top 2 spots in the 100 breaststroke, with senior Brandon Fiala taking first and junior Justin Edwards placing second with a time of 55.73 seconds. Senior Robert Owen added to the Hokies' total score with a first-place finish in the 200 backstroke, while sophomore Ian Ho continues her tear in sprint events as she came out on top in the 50 free with a time just over 20 seconds.
The Hokie Divers continued their school's impressive start with a sweep of the 1-meter events as sophomore Ashlyn Peters finished with a first-place score of 315.45 and sophomore Ben Scheissel put up 333.67 points. Later in the meet, Peters also managed to take the 3-meter event, where junior Ashley Butcher placed second in her first appearance since last season. Senior Leah Piemonte and freshman Miranda Everly also contributed with 3 earned points for the Hokies. Freshman Colin Murphy and Hassler Carroll also impressed in their first showing of the year as they picked up 2 points towards the total score. The Hokies will continue their strong play when they return to the Christiansburg Aquatic Center for their meet against Duke, West Virginia, and William & Mary this Friday at 5 p.m.
What did you guys think of the swim team's performance?
I think the first thing is when you have these big name teams like Penn State out of the Big Ten, it obviously looks good. 'Cause anytime you're going to beat opponents like that, they're going to be able to recruit. They're going to get the better athletes than if you're facing, let's say, a Radford or somebody like that.
Yeah, definitely a good sign that both the men's and the women's racing and diving teams won, so it really was going to help the program.
Coming up after the break, we will discuss the football team's heartbreaking loss at Syracuse. Stay tuned.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to the shelterpetproject.org and meet a few who are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to the shelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Welcome back to Tech Total Access. The football team traveled to Syracuse but fell flat. Quarterback Gerard Evans threw for a career high, 307 yards, but it just wasn't enough to give the Hokies a victory. The Hokies were behind for the first 3 quarters of the game, but a much-needed Bucky Hodges touchdown and 2-point conversion from Chris Cunningham tied the score early in the 4th. Syracuse came back to score 2 touchdowns on back-to-back possessions to ultimately seal the win. The Hokies are now 4-2 and 2-1 in the ACC. What do you guys think was behind the offensive flop at Syracuse?
I will start off by saying how wrong I was. I predicted 63-0 and an offensive performance unlike you've ever seen, I believe is my direct quote. That didn't happen, obviously. Ian tried to warn us about the trap game, and that is exactly what happened.
Well, I think the thing here is when the game first started, they came out flat. And it was evident in the first half. And second half, that's normally when you go and make adjustments. But during the second half, they came right back out flat. You know, they were able to get yards and stuff on Syracuse, but if you're not turning that, if you're getting field goals or turnovers in the red zone, not getting touchdowns, it's just not going to help your chances.
The Carrier Dome is a house of horrors for Virginia Tech. They have lost 10 out of the 18 games that they've played in the Carrier Dome. And we all know the last time they played there was the famous 2002 triple overtime game. So they're going to have to start winning in these places that they can't win. Heinz Field is coming up with Pitt in a couple weeks, and that's another place this team just cannot win. So with Fuente here, you kind of think that that's going to start to flip around, but it just hasn't yet. And that's something they're going to have to do.
Yeah, they're going to have to be able to win tough games on the road if you want to make it to the ACC championship.
You're also going to have to run the ball, period.
Yeah, I mean, they got 161 yards, but when you look at, they ran the ball 45 times. 161 would be good if you ran about 20, 30 times.
Right.
But when you run it 45 times, it's like 3 yards a carry. That's not that great.
The Hokies have a short week to prepare to take on Miami on a Thursday night game at home. Here's what the players and coaches had to say.
We've got a very talented Miami team coming into town for what should be a great atmosphere on a Thursday night. I've heard quite a bit about Thursday nights in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm looking forward to taking part in it.
I think we played like we wanted to win. Syracuse played like they needed to win, and I think there's a difference right there. And
this is the biggest game because it's the next game, and we know that we have to prepare. We have a short turnaround, so we have to get ready by Thursday.
Well, I mean, the way I look at it, we just got to have a short-term memory, just put this one behind us and move on to Miami, especially since it's a short week. We just got to keep it moving on, and, you can't let this one hurt us get moving forward. So, I don't think everybody's spirits are really damaged. I think we still have one goal in mind, and that's going 1-0 each week. So, we got to bring in when Miami comes into town.
Yeah, right immediately after the game, it was definitely a sour feeling. We lost. It was an ugly loss, but we knew that Miami was coming to town. Excuse me. And they're not going to feel bad for us, so we got to turn the page. There's definitely a great opportunity you don't have to wait a full week, especially coming after a loss, to kind of get that bad taste out of your mouth. But it's just that. It's an opportunity for both teams. And, one team's going to come out feeling better about themselves, and another team's going to have their back against the wall. So we just got to prepare, and hopefully we'll be victorious.
What do you guys think the Hokies have to do to give Miami a game?
Well, first they have to beat Miami at home on a Thursday. They're 0-3 all-time against Miami in Lane Stadium on a Thursday night, which, given the fact they've played 30 games, at home on Thursday night since its inception, that's not a good mark.
Yeah, Miami. First thing I think of when I think of Miami, Mark Rich. He's doing a great job there. That group is really overperforming. I kind of see it as us with Fuente. He's kind of brought in a winning culture. And when I think of them, they don't really do anything relatively well, but they don't do anything bad. So they're right there, and they're going to be able to hang on. Just 2 weeks ago, they were ranked number 11, they're 1 point away from being top 10.
Brad Kaya, the quarterback from Miami, he's on the big boards for the draft this year. He's going to go high. He is the prototypical pro-style quarterback. He likes to sit in the pocket. He has a big arm. He's really good with reading defenses and things like that. So what Foster wants to do is bring blitzes and confuse him, which is very hard to do.
We also went out and talked to students. Reporter Maddie McVeigh has more.
I'm here in downtown Blacksburg talking to some students about the Hokies' loss against Syracuse and the upcoming Thursday night game against the Miami Hurricanes.
Syracuse is a little disappointing, but I think it was just a game where we need to grow from, and I think we can do better at the next one.
Based on the Syracuse game, I feel like Miami's going to be tough. Miami's a good team, and Virginia Tech's actually changing this year.
With all of that considered, I thought Gerard Evans played really well, and our running game picked up at the end.
We didn't play as well as we should have. We should have kicked their butts, but we're going to come back this week stronger than we would have if we won that game. So we're going to be good this week and kick some Miami tail.
I think they need to communicate a lot better than they have been, and I think that they need to not be cocky. Even though they've done well for a few games, they need to not take that to heart. They need to still remember that we're always growing. There's always room for improvement.
I think Gerard Evans is the leader of our team, and he needs to step up in this game.
We're going to score some touchdowns.
31-27.
24-14.
We're going to do great. We're awesome.
Go Hokies.
For Tech Total Access, this is Maddie McVeigh.
So what are your score predictions for this Thursday night game?
Since I was so wrong last time, I'll let Ian go first.
I think Tech wins 28-17. I think they pull out a late touchdown in the fourth quarter.
I've got Virginia Tech winning 38-35 in a game that is very close, and hopefully it can bring back some of that atmosphere of the old Thursday night games in Lane Stadium.
That's all that we have for this episode of Tech Total Access. Be sure to tune in next week for more hard-hitting sports action. And as always,
Go Hokies!